The SilencerCo Omega has been a pretty highly anticipated suppressor. So starting off, we'll go ahead and open the box and show what the Omega ships with. First of all, we have the Omega itself with the anchor brake on and a 5/8 by 24 direct thread adapter. It also does come with the ASR adapter, a muzzle brake or flash hider of your choice, and a couple tools to work on the suppressor itself. SilencerCo no longer ships with their nice MOLLE pouches, but instead does come with kind of just a protective bag for the suppressor. With the titanium and stellite construction, it does allow the Omega to be the lightest SilencerCo can here. In this configuration, it's 6 inches long and 14 ounces. This is compared to the longest configuration the Omega can be in with the anchor brake and the ASR mount. The ASR mount adds about 3 to 3.5 ounces and brings the overall length to 7.5 inches. 7.5 puts it right on par with the Saker 7.62, although the Saker 7.62 is about 3 ounces heavier. The 9-inch Spec War is by far the longest and heaviest of the cans in front of us and weighs in at 24 ounces. Changing out the mounting system or the end caps is also very simple. If you want to use one of the flat end caps, the process is the same as we're going to do on the anchor brake here. Locate the front of the suppressor with the baffles pointing away from you and screw in either your anchor brake or flat end cap. You'll want to get it started by hand until it's hand tight. Once it's hand tight on there, take the provided wrench and set the prongs inside the divots in the end of the anchor brake or flat end cap. You'll then just turn and make sure that it's tightened up completely. The process for the direct thread module is the exact same. So since we already saw it with the anchor brake, we'll go ahead and install the ASR module into the back of the suppressor. Again, just turn it until it's hand tight on there. It should go on fairly easily. Once it's hand tight, take the provided spanner wrench and set it inside the divots on the ASR module. Hold the suppressor body firmly with your right hand or your dominant hand and go ahead and just turn with the spanner wrench to tighten it up the rest of the way. After that's on there, make sure the locking ring is unlocked, slide it over your flash hider, which should already be mounted on a barrel, but in this case it's not, so we can pretend there's a barrel here. Screw the suppressor on to the flash hider or muzzle brake, and once it's on there, you'll turn this locking ring to tighten the Omega down over your muzzle device. Cleaning and maintenance is very simple for the Omega. Since it is a centerfire rifle can, you really never have to clean the baffles out. The most you'll have to do with cleaning is make sure the threads are cleaned up every now and then. Just don't shoot cast lead projectiles or .22 long rifle through it to prevent lead buildup in the suppressor itself. From what we can tell, it is Cerakoted with a very dark gray, almost blue finish. You can see this discolored band in the middle of the suppressor, and that's from us getting it warmed up. It is completely normal for suppressors when they get hot to have some sort of discoloration or finish wear. So this might be a concern for first-time suppressor owners, but just keep in mind this is completely normal, and if you're shooting a lot quickly through a suppressor, you will see some sort of discoloration on pretty much all suppressors out there. With the technical information out of the way, we can go ahead and look at how the Omega performed at the range. Overall, it was somewhere between the Saker and the Spec War, with the Saker being a little bit louder and the Spec War being quieter. The Omega did have a very nice tone to it. We'll play the next sequence of clips a couple times so you can get a point of reference between a bolt closing at 117 decibels, a trigger reset, and the various suppressors we tested. On the 5.56 testing, we used a 10-inch barrel and XM193. Unsuppressed, the shots averaged 167.6 decibels. The Omega with the anchor brake brought that down to 140.42 decibels. This sat right between the Saker, which performed the worst, and the Spec War, which performed the best. The 7.62 Omega's flat end cap was negligible, however the 5.56 flat end cap did drop it down to 138.66 decibels. On the 300 Blackout with an 8.5-inch barrel using the SilencerCo 220 grain harvester ammunition, unsuppressed was 164.54. The Omega with the anchor brake then brought that down to 126.4. We did lose some performance putting on the flat 7.62 end cap, and it brought the sound up to 129.06 decibel average. Again, this is right between the Saker and the Spec War, and not quite as good a performance as the Liberty Leonidas. For 308 testing, we used a SCAR 17 with M80. Unsuppressed, the shot was 169.7, and the Omega with the anchor brake brought it down to 146.9. The difference between the anchor brake and the flat cap was pretty negligible on the 308. But again, it stayed right between the Saker and the Spec War as far as decibel reduction goes. All in all, the Omega did have a very nice tone to it. While it wasn't as quiet as the Spec War 7.62, it is 10 ounces lighter and 3 inches shorter than the Spec War, so there's certainly something to be said for that. One of the surprising highlights for me personally was the anchor brake with a 5.56 SBR. It really did mitigate a lot of the recoil and make 5.56 much softer and more pleasant to shoot. The SilencerCo Omega should be a great addition to their 2015 lineup. If you have any questions or want to know more about the Omega or any of our other products, please do feel free to get in touch with us.